Okay, Mark, I'm looking at your model in Blender right now, and this is your front wall, which is the first issue you have. Okay, so this is your actual part, and this front wall chrome, this is your root object. So since I don't have a model locator to go by, and when you import all your roots, they come in at the world origin, which is 0 on your scale. So you have to put all the parts. Uh, you have to put all the parts on the trailer from your all your PIM files that you sent me. So, and placing all the parts on your trailer, everything went into the right place. Your rear door, your rear bumper, your trim went into the right place. Your reefer unit and everything. But the one thing that I couldn't find was the model locator for your front wall. So there's nothing really telling me where that is. So the only thing that I could try would be the front wall of the chassis. So when you go into the chassis, this is your front body. So this is where our reefer and this painted wall comes in at. So if we hide this chrome wall and we look at your paint wall, which is here. Okay, so here's your paint wall, and paint is your root object, and we click on it. See, it comes in at the cursor for your front body. So your front body and this paint is at the same place in your world, I guess. Think of these as kind of like GPS coordinates. So if you look here, and got to this menu by clicking on N. If you look here, here's your X, Y, and Z locations. So if you select paint, it'll tell you it's on the 0x location, and it'll tell you a Y location, tell you a Z location. So in our world, that's how everything is determined by our X, Y, and Z. The X axis, the Y axis, and the Z axis. So if we go to the model locator, which is F body, and we click on it, it's at the same X, Y, and Z location. And for your trim, if we click on the trim, okay, so here's your trim. So your trim is at this X, Y, and Z location. And if you go down to your trim for your chrome and you click on your root object, it's in the exact same location. So all your pieces follow the root objects when it comes to placing it in the correct location on your trailer. But I did have a model locator to go to go with your front chrome wall. So I didn't know exactly where to put it, and the only conclusion I can come to is that you never created a model locator for the chrome wall because I could not find one in your chassis. So whenever you create this root object, the root object's going to come in wherever your cursor is at. So if I hit shift and drag your cursor up here, and I take this chrome trim and I delete it. Oops, I'm sorry, that's the trim. I want to delete your door, so undo that. So this front wall chrome. So remember, we only want to delete the root object. We don't want to delete the part. So we just right click on it and we hit delete. Okay, so what happens when you hit delete? The part will automatically go to its 0 location, which is the the intersection of your X, Y, and Z axis. So if you see this little yellow dot, and I know it's kind of hard to see, but you see this little dot right here, this orange dot, that's tell you where this part has come in at. And it's right at the intersection of your X, Y, and Z axis. All right, so that's, now we can take this part and we can actually put it in the correct location by dragging it along its axis. So I can hit G and Y and I can move it along the Y axis. And then if I look at from the Y, I hit G, Z, and I can move it up, and then G, X, and move it close to where it's supposed to be at. So I can physically move the part where I want it. Or I can move the part to where the cursor is, which is right here. So if I go Shift S, and I can go selection of cursor, and now my part's at the cursor. But everything is based off this X, Y, and Z axis. That's how it knows how to put everything on the trailer and at just the right spot is by these coordinates. And if you want to hide this again, you just hit in and that goes away. Now I told you had three things and all of them was wrong with this front wall. So the first problem is you didn't have a model locator for your chrome wall root. All right, so uh, what I'm going to do, I'm going to hide everything for your reefer. We'll hide that. And then I'm going to hide this, let's see. I think we can move it in the right location if Shift S, cursor to selected, which is going to be the root object. Then I can select this and I can go Shift S, selection to cursor. Okay, and that's pretty much in the same spot that it was in. Uh, so let's see. I'm going to put it inside this root for just a moment. Let me try. And this is what I mean. When I said I really didn't have a reference for your chrome wall. I don't know what X, Y, and Z coordinates. You can't use this part for your X, Y, and Z because it's based on the root that it's under. At least I think it is. Let me see. So we hit N to bring it up. Yeah, see, it's going to show 0 because it's basing it on your root. So your chrome part, it's going to show. Let's see. If I make this 0, nope. See, it's just going to put it right back at the intersection. So it's everything is based off the axis and where your root locator is. So it's real hard to get the reference. In this case, you're just going to have to move it manually. So I'll trying to get it back out of the root. There we go. I'm pretty good at putting it inside a root, but don't really take them out of roots too often. Not just one. Other than most of the time I do it, I just delete the root. And basically what you've done is you unlinked it to a parent. So it just falls under your collection, just like these other root objects does, except this isn't a root object, it's a part. So what we need to do, we need to just move the chrome wall into position. So we'll just GY and GZ. We'll get it fairly close. And that's easier done in the orthographic view. So I know I've got it centered in my Z and X direction. The only one I don't know about is my Y. So the best thing that I know to do is kind of put it in the perspective view and then move it back until they start intersecting. Okay, so that's pretty close because you can see the two meshes are coming out. So that's pretty close to being in the right position. I do see a little bit red here on the ends, so it probably needs to be moved in the X direction a little bit, ever so slightly. Let's and you can zoom in to really fine tune it of where you want it. Okay, so that's kind of how you manually move it into position, is just kind of like how we did the rivets and the ridges. All right, so we need to create a model locator for this chrome wall, and you could have your model locator at this point here, and you let me just turn on all your model locators. So you can turn on all your model locators, go into visibility tools, and here's your model locators. You hit shift and click on it, and this will turn all the model locators on uh, in your whole mod. And as you can see up here, we didn't have a model locator, but this is where your root object was. So in the picture you sent me, if you'll look, this is really close to where your root object was. And that is why your chrome wall appeared in the correct location, uh, but you don't have a model locator in that location. So let me see if I can do this. So if you want to put a model locator in this location here for your front wall, uh, that's good. And there's nothing wrong with that. Let me see if we can get try to see if I can get the cursor. See if I can get the cursor to it. So cursor to selected. All right, so here's our cursor. Remember, everything comes in at the cursor. So in order to make a model locator, all right, so I'm sorry, I got a message I was looking at. All right, so now I have the cursor at your Chrome wall, and now I want to go to the chassis root object, which is this chassis 53F, and I want to make sure that I select it where you have the blue bar, and then you go to your SCS tools and you hit Add Model Locator. And now you have a model locator where the cursor is, and it comes in as ML, and then we can change it to, we'll change it to front wall. All right, so now we have a model locator in this area here that says front wall. All right, so now we still have to put the chrome wall within a root. All right, so it's still a piece right now. So if you select it, if you select a piece and you hit SCS tools, add, and we select root object, now it's going to put your front wall inside a root object, or like I said, sometimes called a game object. Uh, but now you rename your game object, and we can call this uh, front paint something. You call it anything you want. That's entirely up to you. I call it front paint. And now this root object is in the X, Y, and Z coordinates, same as this front wall that we just made right here. Okay, so now our root object is fixed, but then that brings us to problem number 3. So problem number 2 is fixed. Uh, First problem was the chrome wall was not in the correct position, so we fixed that. Problem number 2 was we didn't have a model locator for the front wall. And then problem number 3 is this painted wall right here. This painted wall, you have a wall in it. So let me delete this. You have a wall that's within another root. So you want to strip this wall out of this root here, because this is an accessory, and you can't have two accessories showing up into the same spot. Otherwise, you're going to have issues. So what we're trying to do is create an option where the gamer can either select a painted wall or a chrome wall, regardless of whether they select a different reefer or an insulated box or uh, what's the other one, a dry van. So anybody that they choose, they can either select a painted wall or a chrome wall. So we have to strip this painted wall out of this paint and put it into its own root object that is the same spot as our cursor. So in order to strip that out and put it under a root object, you just highlight it, like I said, in blue, and you hit SCS Tools and go to Add, and we want to add that as a root object. So now your new game object, and we'll call this front paint, PNT. Whoops, this one should be Chrome. I'm sorry, let's rename that. I don't know what I was thinking. Front Chrome. All right, so you have a front Chrome wall and you have a front paint wall, and both of them are in their own root or own game objects, and they're both tied to this model locator. And if you decide that you want to use the I don't know what, let's see. I don't know. All right, I think. Okay, so both of these parts should be included in our front wall and our chrome wall. If we hide these and we look at our chrome wall, they're not there. And we also have some shading issues that we're going to work out. But anyway, I'm going to do that in another video instead of trying to work it out here. But if you want to move these two objects into, you can select them both. Well, I guess the easiest thing to do is just delete this root. And see, as soon as you delete the root, it goes to basically 0. And then you can well, actually select these, and what we're going to do, we're going to move the cursor back to the front wall, and I'll show you why to do that. So if we go to the, and that's called front body, I believe. Here it is, front body. All right, so we're going to move the cursor to selected. We're going to move it to the front body, and now we're going to move those two pieces back into the same position. So we hit Shift S, selection of cursor. All right, so now they're zeroed at that cursor. So now we can move them to any root that we want. So we move them to the front chrome wall. We just place it over it, hit Shift and let go, and it places it into the front wall. And see, they stay in their original position. And then if we want these two to go into our painted wall, we hit Shift D to duplicate it, then enter, and then we just drag these to our painted wall and Shift and let go. All right, so that sometimes happens if you don't do it quite right. It actually takes it out of the root object. So we have to just grab them again and try to put them back in. There we go. All right, and that should fit. That should fix your trailer up. You got your front chrome wall in its own root. You got your front paint wall in its own root, and now you have a model locator called front wall that tells the game where to place your front wall and your universe. Okay, I hope that helps it out and explains some things. And we'll talk again. Keep it up. You're really, really close. All right, bye.